So, the Overdress stream is happening in a few days' time, and I wanted to talk about it before it happened. So, today we're going to be talking about the stream specifically. We're going to be talking about the stuff I expect to see in the stream and what those things will be. Of course, there are definitely going to be a lot of exciting things to do with Overdress as an era that we won't see in the stream, and we'll save that for a later date, right? With something as big as Overdress, there's going to be tons to talk about. And I wanted to do one last video talking about what we'll see from Overdress before the stream happened, because I did make another two videos talking about Overdress when it first was announced, and we saw like an image and that was it. And now, months later, like half a year later, we might actually be able to, actually see stuff from it. Thanks, Bushiroad. I guess we'll get that out of the way first. I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. I'm just going to talk about everything and then get to it. Also, bear in mind, feeling a little sick, so this is going to be very low effort. But I also kind of like this format of just talking and having minimal background, because then you can just do stuff while you listen to me. Kind of podcasty, I guess, in that way. Go and play some rounds of Vanguard 0 while you listen to me talk, That sounds pretty cool. But yeah, bear with me with this, because I am kind of feeling a bit sick right now. I'm sure I'll get over it soon, but, so if I sound weird or anything like that, or I'm just tired, then that's why. But still powering through it to bring this video to you, so be thankful, please. But yeah, let's talk about Overdress and the stream and all that stuff. And the thing I was going to open with was the silence. Now, as someone who's been a fan of Vanguard for a long time now, I knew that we were going to have to wait until this early year, beginning of the year stream for any information about Overdress. That's why I was so surprised when back in June, when they showed something, because I was like, wait a second, no. Knowing Bushiroad and the patterns they've gone off of, they won't be ready to show anything from the next era until January, February. So why are they showing us anything in June? And the answer was they weren't really showing us anything. They showed us an image with absolutely no information accompanying it. So cool. Thanks, Bushiroad, for leading us to just speculate for months with no information. Now, my problem isn't that the initial reveal didn't show much, it was that they didn't follow it up quick enough. They should have had the, reveal image posted to, their Twitter, today, in the lead up to the stream, not all the way back in June. That's annoying. Because I get it, you want to get people excited and hyped, and you want them to know that there's something coming soon, because, of course, with the recent card game sets being as interesting as they are, we'll talk about that in a sec, and with the anime essentially ending and going on hiatus months before the Overdress one will start, kind of leaves this question mark as to whether or not there will be something coming soon. So I guess that's the reason they showed us something so early. But I mean, it leaves a foul taste in my mouth, because you still have to show us something before we can get actually interested, and they didn't show us enough. I don't know, just that much time, it was a bad way of going around it. Better communication on Bushiroad's end. I know they wanted to have this big stream in January that would show everything, but that it's making us wait almost half a year with nothing is annoying, right? Especially when it comes to set rotation. Are we gonna rip the set rotation band-aid off now? I guess we'll rip that off. So for anyone who isn't aware, I'm pretty sure everyone's aware, but set rotation is the idea that in the standard current format for the card game, you can only use the most recent handful of sets. And this was introduced in the V-Series era. They were like, we're going to have a standard format and a premium format, and you will only be able to use cards with the little V logo in the corner for this current set rotation. And that was basically all they said. Once again, kind of a lack of communication on Bushiroad's end, because me and everyone else kind of just assumed, oh, this is a one-time set rotation because reboot, I get it. The thing is, the closer we get to Overdress, the more it seems like Overdress is also going to be a set rotation. They're going to put an O and a V maybe in the corner instead of just a V on its own, and be like, now you can only use the OV cards in the use set rotation. And there's been a lot of arguing as to whether or not that'll be the case. And I strongly believe that it probably will, yes, because there's too many warning signs. Yeah. See, I don't hate the idea of set rotations, and immediately this video is the most disliked video on Vanguard YouTube. Oh no, what did I say? No, seriously, I don't hate the idea of set rotations. In fact, I think other card games like Pokemon have handled it pretty damn well. But the benefits to set rotation are the game balancing, basically. That's the biggest one. The biggest one is that if you're only dealing with sets from the most recent 3 or so years, then you're also easier able to balance it. When you've got a card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where basically anything goes, it becomes a lot more difficult to keep track of anything. One new card in a set that seems pretty, bad will actually be able to chain or combine with a card that was released 9 years ago and ends up making that card incredibly broken and has to go on the ban list. And that's basically every Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list. It's just that. And that's the thing, with set rotation, it's easier to balance the game because there's less cards to work with, and so you end up with less of a ban list, and the game just ends up being a bit more steady in general, Pokemon has done a very good job of this, at least I think so. The current standard format Pokemon ban list only has 2 cards on it, and that's it, and I think both of those cards will be rotated out in August. So potentially, depending on how the next handful of sets end up going, there might just be no ban list for the standard format Pokemon in a few months. That's cool. Whereas if you go to any other card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or even Vanguard and you check the ban list, it's big. And that's the thing, when you're playing with that many cards over that many years, it's impossible to balance them. I'm sorry, that's just what it is. And it makes the gameplay better, balancing is everything. You want to be able to build a deck on a fairly tight budget, but still be able to actually play it without being absolutely destroyed. And you can do that in Pokemon, and you can do that in Magic. And in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, if you're not OTKing your opponent, then you just may as well not even play. And that's the benefit of set rotation. The downside of set rotation is that you can't use your old cards in the standard format, and the standard format is the one everyone else is going to be playing. So effectively, if you've got a game as small as Vanguard, if you're splitting up your fan base into 2 parts, the standard players and the premium players, then you're potentially killing that player base. Now, of course, Vanguard isn't going to die anytime soon. We're not getting into that debacle. But what I do mean to say is that Vanguard is a pretty small card game. It's actually it's pretty big and it's pretty small. I guess it's a medium-sized game because it's big enough to be profitable and, have stuff like Bushiroad Springfest. And it's also profitable enough that I am confident that it will not get cancelled anytime soon. I think it's still got at least another 5 years in it, depending on how things go. We'll talk about that later, I guess, if we want to. But it's also not Pokemon, it's not Magic, and it's not Yu-Gi-Oh! And so because of that, these kinds of games thrive on locals and that kind of stuff. A card game is only as good as the amount of people you have to play against, right? And, well, if you run into a local Vanguard community and they're all playing Standard and you only care about Strides, then guess what? You don't have anyone to play Vanguard against. It's as simple as that. With something like Magic and Pokemon, that's a lot easier to navigate because they're so massive that it's not a problem, My local card shop, like my local game store, they have so many people playing Pokemon and Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh! Always. Every time I walk into that place, there are people flipping through the Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Binders. Magic's not as popular in my area, but it does have people playing it. But every time I go in there, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, always full of them. My game store doesn't even stock Vanguard. And so, by having a format like this that splits up a game that's not even popular enough to be stocked by my card shop, don't worry, I'm working on it. I'm negging them. Oh god, I feel bad for those people. But that's the thing though, right? By splitting up a card game like this, if it's small, it doesn't work. If it's big, then it gives you a broader range of choice. You can choose how you want to play the game. But if it's a small card game, then you could potentially just not have anyone to play with. Just simple as that. you know, you have to play standard because that's what everyone else is playing. And if you only care about premium, which I know a lot of people do only really care about premium, then too bad. You're just going to have to beg your friends to buy premium decks. It's as simple as that. And I don't think that's very healthy for Vanguard because it's too small. I think in a few years' time that would have been great, and it should have been communicated better. That's the thing. Once again, lack of communication on Bushiroad's end. I think it's really shitty that they don't tell us beforehand, right? If the set rotation thing was going to be a common thing, then when the V-Series happened, they should have said, oh, and by the way, get ready for more set rotations. I know it would have been a difficult bullet to swallow, you know, like, but that's the thing, you got bullet to swallow. I mixed up bite the bullet and pill to swallow, I'm sorry. But like, it would have been a difficult thing to swallow, and there would have been fan outcry, but I think it would have been better in the long run because you could actually, you know, you'd have that knowledge, you'd know. And I also think something like Pokemon set rotation, where you're not just chopping off a generation entirely, that's the thing. I mean, this is maybe a bit of an old topic to get into, but I think V-Series' set rotation would have been a lot better if they kind of slowly dripped into it. So instead of being like, hey, here's 2 trial decks in 1 set, those are all you're allowed to use. Instead, they should have been like, oh, you know, 2 trial decks in a set of V stuff, and also you're allowed to use strides from the most recent, like, 2 years, and then, like, slowly kind of transitioned into it, you know, rather than just being, no, you have to use something from the newest. And again, that's what I'm expecting Overdress to do. Of course, you can go in the comments and say I'm wrong about that and say they are not planning a set rotation. That's just what I think. We don't actually have any evidence proving one way or the other. That's just my theory, right? So we can disagree and still be friends, right? You know? But I think it's a set rotation. The biggest warning sign to me is the power creep. The power creep of the and bad balancing in the most recent sets is awful. Vanguard has been unplayable for the past year. And I'm sorry to say that. I know, it's not that bad, but it's really, really tiring to see every single new set that comes along. They end up banning the most worthwhile card from that set. Goodbye, Luard. You know, like, it's kind of tiring, you know, like, the amount of bans we've had, the amount of limiteds, and the amount of erratas, it's just bad. And the thing people always say about, like, oh, but set rotation's bad because I want to be able to play with cards that I own, any card that I own. I want to be able to open a folder of cards that I opened 3 years ago, and build a deck out of those cards, and be able to play at my locals. But that's the thing, card games naturally have some element of power creep to them, whether you like it or not, that's unavoidable. Obviously you want to lessen the power creep as much as possible, but they're going to have it. And so you're not going to win with cards from 3 years ago, I'm sorry, it's just true. Unless you'd go the Yu-Gi-Oh route and combining it with a completely broken new card, you know, as I mentioned earlier. You're not going to win with a deck entirely made of cards from 3 years ago. Just realistically, it's just not going to happen, really. And also, like, well, that's the thing. I would rather than being able to play with any of the new cards and having absolutely, like, little to no ban list with the newer cards because they're easier to balance, at the cost of not being able to play with any of the old cards. And yeah, decks have a shelf life. You're not going to be able to play with the same deck forever. That's kind of the game. The game is you being in a constant state of building new decks and surviving with the current meta, and set rotations are part of that. I strongly believe that. And again, for anyone who thinks I'm defending set rotation a bit too much here, bear in mind, I said earlier that I don't think Vanguard needs a set rotation yet. I think it's more unhealthy for them than healthy. I think that when the V-Series came, well, actually there was no real winning solution to the V-Series because rebooting it was just a bad idea in general. But I think that when the V-Series came, they should have just let us keep using the strides. You know, what premium format is now should have been the only format, basically. Because a lot of the good premium format decks anyway are just standard format cards with a stride added on top of them. Like, I don't think that would have been a bad card game, honestly. I think that's fine. I can see how people like premium. I'm just drawn away from it because I'm worried that no one's playing it. And that kind of is a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If no one wants to play premium because no one's playing it, then no one's going to play premium. But that's kind of the problem, right? And Bushiroad need to handle that somehow. I'm not sure how, but they need to handle it. And I think that because of that, Overdress is going to be another set rotation. And I genuinely, cynically, I want to be proven wrong here. I think they are going to say that when Overdress releases with the new trial decks and sets, they're going to have the O or whatever printed in the corner, similar to how the V-Series cards have a V. And it's like, you're only going to be able to use cards with that O on them in the new standard format. Get fucked. And I don't want that to happen. Like I said, if we need to keep going with the set rotation, then they should like slowly kind of bring it in. They should be like, oh, you can still use the V-Series cards from the past couple years, and like slowly, like what Pokemon does. Every year they take a handful of sets off, you know? So, because let's face it, those first few months of, one set in 2 trial decks, or whatever it is they end up doing, is gonna be pretty slow. I mean, then again, current world event, there's not gonna be people going to locals anyway, not really. But like, you know, like, I don't know, just it kind of rubs me the wrong way that Vanguard has so many cards printed, and there is going to be a point in time soon, probably, like I said, I hope to be proven wrong here, where you're only able to use cards from a trial deck in a set. That's it. Anyway, that's the set rotation stuff. Yeah, this is going to be a long one. Buckle in, kids. That's the set rotation stuff out the way, because gotta talk about the card game. I'm honestly more interested in the anime right now, if I'm completely honest, because I like the shiny cool stuff, and I hope the anime can do that. And I know it's naive of me to be excited for the anime, because the last season of the anime I actually genuinely like, and is like, that's a good card game anime, was G Next in like 2017. I think it ended in 2017, so like, yeah. Maybe it's a bit naive of me to be more interested in the anime stuff, because I'm gonna get burned, but whatever. Yeah, I didn't like the reboot anime. I really didn't. I think that we should backpedal hard with the new anime. I mean, I guess I'll just give a quick bullet point of what I'd like to see from the anime, because we're gonna see the anime. We're gonna see like a trailer or something. We're gonna see like a trailer followed by the main like poster image, followed by a handful of character design images, and then some other stuff, I guess. I was gonna say something else there, but as well as like the clans that they'll be using and that kind of stuff. Like, we'll see some information about the anime, like maybe a synopsis premise, that kind of thing, maybe an air date. And basically the quick bullet point list is I would like it to start off as a slice of life anime, just straight up. The first season, the first 50 or so episodes, no supernatural stuff at all. You're allowed your supernatural elements, but you have to earn it in Overdress Season 2 at earliest. You also need to focus on the characters. Those are my 2 things, characters and card fights. If you do the characters well and the card fights well, the rest will follow. I assure you this. For the animation, just stick with OLM. OLM are good. Even at their worst, OLM is still watchable, and that's perfectly good for a card game anime. OLM are great. So, as long as you stick with OLM, I have no worries with how it will look visually. But yeah, just, 50 episodes or so. Mainly slice of life stuff. As little supernatural elements as possible. Don't even confirm to the characters that Cray exists in reality. Just have the imagination aspect, right? In terms of settings, I'm expecting a futuristic, because that's what they usually do after a while. These kinds of card game animes, after they've had a couple series, they just jump to the future so they can have cool holograms and stuff. And yeah, sure, cool, why not? Kind of expecting a fantasy school, I'm kind of expecting them to do the GX thing, or if not the GX thing, maybe like a buddy fight school thing, where it's like the setting is so far in the future now that a bunch of the fantasy stuff is just accepted in everyday life. So you got the holograms, you got the robots, you got this and that. I'm kind of expecting that, just because, again, that's the template that they always go off of. And yeah, I guess so. As long as the main villain to the series is not, like, that's the thing. I think the main villain to season 1 should be the rival of the series. You know, your Kai, basically. We shouldn't be introducing characters like Ren until season 2, in my opinion. Because, oh, but 50 episodes of a back and forth between a protagonist and a rival is kind of boring, right? Well, no, not really. Just show the card fights and have the characters be actually interesting to watch. Everyone always really likes the slice of life elements of Vanguard, so just have the characters be fun to watch and have them play the game. Have some more, like, have a really big focus on, like, have the main character's arc just being them building a deck, you know, genuinely have them start off with a generic trial deck and then actually have them slowly over the course of the episodes open more packs, trade for cards, flick through their game store's binder, and so on and so forth, and build a deck. Have that be the series arc, you know, like, because it'll be satisfying to watch, you know, and it'll make characters want to follow along with that process in real life. Have the characters just be fun and interesting to watch, and just have them play the game. Have the card fights be like take part over 2 full episodes on a regular basis. I'd be happy with that, just as long as they're fun to watch. You know, that's all I ask. That's all I ask. If you do the things I mentioned, I will be happy with the anime. Basically, the story doesn't need to come first and foremost. We can have that in later seasons. You know, just you know, that's all I'm asking. Just have it be slow. Take your time, show the card fights, have the card fights be fun to watch, and have the characters be interesting, you know? And have like a fairly big cast of like side characters who are all cool and interesting, you know? And have them all have cool and interesting decks, and then have that be the way you plug come on, it's a card game anime, it's not rocket science, it's not difficult. I would go into more specifics and pitch a plot for whatever, but you don't need that here, you know? Like, I don't really care, as long as it's good. And in terms of like more specific details and stuff, like I said, it doesn't really matter. Like, I know I did a video designing a Protagonist, and where I talk about what I would do if I was to write a Vanguard series, and that will be linked somewhere, maybe in an end card, maybe an inscription. You can find it. And, you know, the idea of having the characters be adult commentators and all that stuff, I would love to see that personally, but again, no matter what they go for, I'm sure it'll be good. It's the execution that matters most. So there's that. Yeah. So that's basically all I really care about in terms of the anime. Like I said, fairly vague and broad, but that's the thing. It's like, I've been burned by the Vanguard anime so much in the past that cool premises and all that other stuff don't really matter as much to me. It's more just the execution of the cool premise, you know? Just make it good. Just make it good. Take your time. Don't rush it. For the love of God, don't rush it. Don't do what the reboot did and set up a bunch of really cool and interesting card fights and then immediately cut away from them and then cut back to the end of the card fight. And it's like, no, I wanted to see that, because there's nothing worse than that. I just, you know, so let's talk about clan selection then, because that's the real big of a thing I'm looking forward to talking about. So we're going to ignore the image, you know, the overdress image that has what I'm assuming are a bunch of units and stuff from the main character's clan. We don't know for certain. We've already talked about this in a previous video. My conclusion was that it's either a new clan or it's probably a Dragon Empire clan like Kagura or Tachikaze. But again, there's no evidence. You know, people can argue about this all day and night and have all, like, and bring up all the facts that they want. But at the end of the day, we don't know what clan these belong to, and I don't really care. Instead, let's just think about some clans and think about what we'd like to see get support. So I'm expecting us to start off with 3 trial decks similar to G, where the trial decks belong to Chrono, Shion, and Tokaha. I think we're going to have a similar thing. We're probably going to have 3 characters and they're all going to get trial decks. Could be 2 trial decks, like we did with Aichi and Kai in the V series, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be 3. Again, I don't have anything to back that up. That's just my guess. And then we're also going to have a set that will support the clans in those trial decks, and maybe 1 extra clan if they have enough room in that set. And then we'll have another set, and well, you know how it works. And we get diminishing returns when it comes to information on the sets. So for the first trial decks and first set, we'll see images of what the products look like, maybe a handful of cards in there, and we'll know what the big mechanic's going to be, and we'll talk about that in a sec. And so we'll have the fancy like images and artwork of that set and everything. But for the rest of the sets coming out in the space of the year, we're basically just gonna get a look at what clans will be supported in it and not much else. So yeah, let's talk about clans. So the protagonist clans, and when I say protagonist, I'm not just talking about the main protagonist. I'm talking about like the 3 or so clans that will get the most support here. Those are going to be important in terms of the card game, right? Like, I think a lot hinges on which clans they decide to support. And again, we're going to forget, for the sake of, you know, banter and actually in discussion, we're going to forget about that image that they already showed us and pretend that's not relevant. Let's talk about what clans I'd like to see for the main 3 sets, yeah, right? That's because those 3 or so sets are going to get consistent support very, very regularly. And that's important because that was going to reflect the game as a whole. It has to be good, fun to play clans, right? That people are going to want to buy. And it's because of that reason I think we should go for lesser supported clans. So let's say, for example, the 3 characters, just the most common stereotypes for these 3 trial deck characters. We're going to have the optimistic protagonist, you know, we're going to have the kind of snooty like rival who thinks he's better than the protagonist, and then we're going to have the girl, because let's face it, the girl usually doesn't have much else going on in the way of character. Nah, Toka's a great character actually, but yeah, so those are the 3. We got protagonist, rival, and girl. Again, this is just for the sake of discussion. They might not actually do this, I'm fully aware, but let's just say that those are the characters. What clans should they play? So as a base rule, I'd like to see some underrepresented clans get some play here, right? I would like to see clans that haven't had trial decks before get trial decks, basically. That's the kind of... so we're going to immediately cross out every clan that's had a trial deck before. So no Bermudas, no Royal Paladin, no Shadow Paladins, no Aqua Forces. Only clans that have not had traditional trial decks, right? Because that makes it interesting, right? You gotta support. There's a lot of clans in Vanguard. You gotta support the ones that haven't had much support, right? And so giving trial decks to the ones that haven't had trial decks, that's a cool way of doing it. So again, this is just for the sake of conversation. I know this isn't actually going to be correct. I would like to see the protagonist use Dark Irregulars, the rival use Angel Feathers, and the girl Mega Colony. I mean, see, for the female character, I'd like to see, the idea I like for Overdress, and I hope they do this, is matching up characters to unusual clans. So the big example of this is when in, I think it was the Age of Circuit arc, Ren used Bermuda Triangle for a card fight. That's the kind of stuff I want to see. I want to see like angsty emo rival character using Bermuda Triangle. That's the kind of thing I want to see here. So protagonist using Dark Irregulars, I think that's really cool. I think Dark Irregulars, perfectly marketable, you know, depending on what you do with them, they could be super popular and marketable, you know. I mean, Shara is already really popular, so like, you know, and it's never had a trial deck before. And if you're thinking that kind of aesthetic will not suit a card game protagonist, Yugimoto from Yu-Gi-Oh! He is like the most Dark Irregular character I've ever seen in my life. It's like an emo of eyeliner who dresses in purple. He's Dark Irregular as hell. That'd work fine, you know. Like I think Dark Irregular would be a really cool protagonist clan. I don't think it will be the protagonist clan, but that's probably what I would have eventually picked. And a few months ago I said Tachikaze. Now I'm leaning more towards Dark Irregular, but either of those two would be really cool protagonist clans. I think the most realistic out of those two is Tachikaze. But hey, you know, and dinosaurs are marketable. You know, dinosaurs are cool. People like dinosaurs. You can do stuff with dinosaurs, and that's what Tachikaze are. So for the rival character, I've gone with Angel Feather because I love Angel Feather. And because, honestly, they haven't really had all that much representation in the anime. Think about it. Which characters have played Angel Feather in the anime? You've got the Ultra Rare Girls in the original 2011 Vanguard. Cool. They don't really get that much screen time or that many card fights, or really that much bearing on the plot as a whole. Certainly no trial decks. And then in G, you get Rin, and Rin's a great character, and she gets a decent amount. But again, she's still like not trial deck status. Even Rummy Labyrinth got trial decks, but Rin never got one. And again, that's the gauge I'm using. You know, I feel like the big clans of each era are like the ones that get the trial decks. You know, like the Protagonist clans are the ones that get like multiple trial decks per era, like Gear Chronicle did in G. And then you have the kind of more minor clans like Grand Blue and Pale Moon in G, which only got like one trial deck if I'm correct. And then you get the clans that just don't get any trial decks, right? So I'm thinking the clans that didn't get trial decks in the past should be the ones getting the trial decks here. Preferably, I'd like to see none of the clans that have had trial decks in the past get trial decks here, right? Speaking of, I don't think Dimension Police have had trial decks. I should have done research, but as far as I'm aware, I don't think they have. There might be one, but if there is, I'm forgetting it. But yeah, Dimension Police would be cool. I would love a Dimension Police rival. A rival, like a snooty, like snooty's such a weird word, but like, you know, a pretentious, like, you know, full of himself character using something like Dimension Police would be sick. And in terms of what they would do with Dimension Police, I'd like to see them explore more tokusatsu stuff. So, you know, you've got like your Enigman, which is Ultraman, and you've got your Kamen Riders and stuff in there too. I would like to see some more Godzillas, some more Kaijus, some more Metal Warriors. There were a couple Metal Warriors. People who don't know what I'm talking about here, it's fine. It doesn't matter. I'd like to see some Super Sentai stuff, which I know the Megazord's already kind of been represented, but I would like to see more Super Sentai stuff. Okay, let's stop talking about tokusatsu now so I don't alienate everyone who's watching this. But yeah, Dimension Police is one you can do a lot with. I think that would be really successful. And I think that's a really good rival clan. And Angel Feather, well, I mean, honestly, I think even more so than usual, Angel Feather would be a great clan to support a lot nowadays because they're the doctors. And the doctors is a really relevant thing right now. So I think that's really cool. In regards to like aesthetics and stuff with Angel Feathers, I mean, honestly, I don't really think you can top the Celestials. Because the idea of having characters who cut off their own wings and then like surgically attached fake ones just to show how dedicated they are is like the coolest thing ever. And I don't really think you can top that. But I would like to see them play around with stuff like Plague Doctors. You know, maybe have like a grade 0 starting Vanguard that's like a cute little crow, but that's got like a doctor uniform on too. So it's like a little Plague Doctor with like a little cane and he spins it. That's another thing, by the way, especially for the anime. I want the grade 0 starter Vanguard units to be cute. I want them to just go full on Pokemon for the grade 0 starter Vanguards. Only for the grade 0 starter Vanguards. You know, for the rest of the units and stuff, they are more traditional Vanguard units. But they had a thing going with Chronodran in G where they tried to make that starter Vanguard like a cute mascot character. And I think they dropped the ball. I think every clan should have a character like that. So I think every single clan should have a cute little like you know how I said Dark Irregulars should get more support? I think that if they were to, their cute grade 0 like mascot characters should look similar to someone like Impidimp from Pokemon, you know, like a little bit weird and crazy, but still kind of cute, you know. I think it's free marketing, you know. And then if you are gonna do the futuristic like buddy fight type thing, which I'll get more into the buddy fight situation in a sec, but basically the long and short of it is because of the fact that buddy fight is over now, I'm kind of expecting to borrow a lot from buddy fight. Both in terms of the card game and the anime. It's not going to turn into buddy fight, but I think we're going to, now that they're not competing against themselves with that, then we're going to be more likely to transition that stuff over, basically. Assuming they're allowed to, I heard there was like a legal battle going on with buddy fight, and that was one of the reasons it ended. But I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But basically, in buddy fight, because it was set in a futuristic setting and everything, their main unit, their main card, their buddy, would just be sentient and just hang out with them, and they would have like a cute form. And that's basically what I'd like to see with the grade 0 units. Just have them be like little cute characters that hang out with them. I know I said earlier that I didn't want fantasy elements, but that was more to do with the plot. I don't want like any world-ending threats. I'm fine with it just being small set dressing stuff, you know. I would, you know, like, is that too much to ask? Do I sound weird here? Let me know. I like the idea of the characters just hanging out and just, you know, holding on to and looking after their grade 0 units as if they were pets. Preferably don't have them talk. I will say that. Have them actually be Pokemon. Don't have them talk, you know? I think having them like talk and giving exposition dumps kind of takes away a lot of the cuteness to it. But I like the idea of having them just be little cute Pokemon. Is that too much to ask? Am I weird here? Is the audience of teenage boys that like Vanguard like too edgy and try hard to think that idea is stupid? I don't know, but I think it's cool, and I think it's easy marketing because you just make those character designs really recognizable, and they'll catch on pretty fast, you know? Like I think Chrono Dran kind of did, you know? And it's weird that the V-Series reboot didn't really have anything like that, you know? Like, at least they didn't try to make them... I guess they did with Valkyrian, kinda. Valkyrian's a grade 5 unit, and it's not a starter Vanguard. Basically, do what you did with Valkyrian, but with every with every grade 0 starter Vanguard. Thank you very much. Okay, cool. And then have that be the holographic card that comes with the trial deck, by the way. So you know how you get a guaranteed, well, a handful of holographic cards per trial deck. Have that be the one that's front and center and cool looking, you know? I'm just saying. But yeah, anyway, cute mascot characters. That's all I ask. So to awkwardly transition away from that, what else would I like to see? Well, I guess we'll come back to the buddy fight thing. I feel like buddy fight, now that it's gone, they are going to have more of a reason to take the cool stuff that they really liked about buddy fight and bring it over to Vanguard. I will say this is a bit of a stretch, and I don't expect this to happen, but if we're doing a set rotation and making it so you can only use the new cards, then make the cards standard size like Buddy Fight was. I like the bigger trading cards. It's a minor point. I don't think they're going to do it, and I don't expect them to, and I think that would cause a lot of problems. I just like the bigger cards. And it's weird to me that Buddy Fight got them, but Vanguard didn't. I don't know. Oh yeah, new mechanic. Right, cool. Yeah, Overdress, right? I'm expecting Overdress to be the mechanic, because it's a verb, right? To overdress something, which I think fits more with a mechanic name than it does a clan name. And again, we're not going to talk about new clans or anything like that right now. Maybe we will in a sec. I don't know. But basically, with the mechanic, I'm expecting it to be items, basically. I'm expecting it to be items similar to something like order cards, where you get like swords and armor and that kind of stuff, and you just put them into a Vanguard Soul to equip that item to them, and then that will overdress them and give them extra stats and effects and stuff. That's basically what I'm expecting the extent of the new mechanic to be, just because order cards seemed a bit arbitrary, you know, and out of nowhere, and only really, like, they didn't really do much with them. And so if they were a segue into the overdress mechanic in a way of kind of getting us used to that kind of thing before we got into it, that's kind of what I'm expecting it to be. And I'm expecting more blitz order cards, because as far as I'm aware, the shield was the only one, right? And that's weird. So the blitz order cards are the order cards you can use on your opponent's turn to like intercept with the damage step and everything. I'm expecting more of those. Just in general, not much else to really say about that. I'm not necessarily sure what they would do, but that's the thing. I'm not good at coming up with card game mechanics, because I come up with cool sounding ones that would not be balanced at all. Yeah. My work in progress idea for an Angel Feather deck would be a grade 3 Vanguard that would allow you to take all of the cards from your damage zone, place them onto your rare guard circles, and then place that many cards from the top of your deck into your damage zone. And I think that would be a bit ridiculous. And also, yeah, if we're doing Angel Feather stuff, an Angel Feather deck that fucks with your opponent's damage zone, please. I know there was like a Mega Colony card or something recently that got something similar to that, but a deck entirely revolving around messing with your opponent's damage zone. Like, that's the thing. Angel Feather are about messing with the damage zone. So how come every Angel Feather deck only and exclusively messes with your own damage zone? It would be really cool to mess with your opponent's one, right? Like, switch out cards from their damage zone. Maybe force them to put a perfect guard from their hand into their damage zone, and then let them take out any other card in exchange. Like, something like that would be really cool, you know? I don't know. I just think it'd be neat. But yeah, I'm expecting the overdress thing to be items that you attach to your Vanguard. Only your Vanguard, though. And you put it in your Vanguard soul, and then it gives it an extra effect or an extra stat bonus. It's kind of like the imaginary gifts and kind of like the order cards. Smush them together, because I'm expecting with the set rotation for them to get rid of the order cards. Not the order cards, the imaginary gifts. I think the order cards will probably stay, though. That's what I'm expecting. We'll see. Again, that's just a random prediction because I don't really think they added much. I think they could have done more with them. I think I was kind of expecting for a while for them to introduce a fourth imaginary gift, and they never really did. But like, yeah, I was kind of expecting to do more of them. There are a few decks here and there that did some interesting stuff with them. Genesis's imaginary gift stuff was kind of cool, like stacking them like that was neat. Spike Bro's ability to like pass the imaginary gift between units was kind of cool. Like there was some cool stuff like that, but I think for the most part they didn't really take advantage of it as much as they could have. I feel like most decks would revolve around the idea of getting your Vanguard out, like your grade 3, and then getting out the specific rare guard combination you need so that those rare guards skill, their ability would allow you to deck search for the order card you need so that then you can use the order card as some kind of big finishing move. I think that's what the kind of pacing would be like. And some of the order cards can have really cool and weird effects, but they would basically be big finishing moves that would be difficult to set up, and would have some kind of really big cost. Maybe you'd have to soul blast a lot or counter blast a lot, or something like that. I don't know, but I don't know the specifics, but that's what I'm expecting. Again, it could be something really crazy and stupid, and something that I wouldn't even think of, but that's the guess, right? My guess is it's items that will attach to the cards like that. Because, you know, that's what the word overdress is, right? You overdress something. So you overdress it with items and armor, right? That's what I'm expecting. I guess we'll see. And I think it will only be grade 3s that will be able to do that. Like, it'll be a very, like, structured thing where it's, like, only grade 3s can be attached to cards like that, and only the Vanguard can be, and that kind of stuff. And I think that's a cool way of doing it anyway, by having this new mechanic only apply to the Vanguard, because it is called Vanguard after all. You gotta focus on the Vanguard itself. So yeah, and other than that, I guess, I think the anime itself and the series, I guess the era, will launch around May, April-ish. May, April-ish sounds about right. And we'll get fairly consistent information after the live stream and that kind of stuff. And other than that, I'm not sure what else, honestly. I feel like I've basically said everything I have to say. This was a 40-minute video, so I hope you took my advice earlier and did start climbing some rank while listening to this. Let me know how many ranks you climbed. Probably only one, I'd imagine, because this isn't very much time. But yeah, I don't really have much else to add. Let me know what you think about all of the things I've covered in this video. I've covered quite a bit. And yes, I will be covering the news when we actually get it. This was just a last minute, like, I want to talk about what I think will happen before it happens. And again, I don't expect most of this stuff to happen. This is just my very out there guesses. Some of them I'm pretty confident on, some of them I'm not so much. And yeah, basically. So I guess I'll see you later with some more videos. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and so that you can keep up with the Overdress news as it happens, both the anime and the card game, and that kind of stuff. Anything I didn't mention is stuff that I don't really think will be mentioned in the live stream. And I'm not going to get into stuff like who will sing the opening song and who's the voice cast going to be and all that other stuff, because I don't, you know, we'll get into that once it's been announced, right? And yeah, that's basically everything I have to say. Let me know what you think in the comments. And remember, for every new generation of a niche Japanese card game, there's always an asterisk.